Hey guys, welcome to Modular Games. My name's Kyle. This video is for people who, like myself, missed the train and don't know what's going on with DC20. If you are involved with DC20 and you know what's going on, I hope you enjoy the show. So I wanted to cover all of the character classes for DC20 in terms of the martial characters, the experts, the magic users, the priests, but it turns out DC20 doesn't actually split up classes into those categories. They just have the martials and the magic users. They've kind of rolled the experts in with the martials and the priests in with the magic users. So I'll just be going according to those categories. Now, the Dungeon Coach has already done episodes on these classes already, so I don't want to break down every single class feature that they possibly have. Essentially, everything in the playtest manual is already on YouTube on the Dungeon Coach's channel. But I want to especially cover the flavor-based features that each class has. And it turns out that some of these classes, the strongest flavor features are not the ones that are marked as flavor-based features, though most of them are positively spectacular. They're not some weird ribbon text kind of thing. They're things that come up every single time you play this character, every time you interact with NPCs. They are an every single day type of feature, and they're very much going to influence the look and feel of these classes. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're covering the martial classes first. We're going to go ahead and hit the experts, and then the weird ones, and then the simple guys at the end. So, the Ranger. The Ranger is something that has been in a really weird place in other games and in various editions of D&D. They seem to be kind of a weird conglomerate of all sorts of things, and it felt uncomfortable. I've not been a fan of any version of the Ranger until this one, because it is fantastic. It is pair ultimate in terms of flavor. Most people think that the monsters out in the wilderness are the boogeyman. I think that these class features make the Ranger the ultimate hunter in the game. They are the thing that goes bump in the night. They are the thing that you should be afraid of, because if they decide to hunt you down, there's nowhere you can go. There's nowhere you can hide. There's nothing you can do. You're not going to be able to dodge their attacks. Every time they hit, they get advantage again. They get to use the help action on themselves for free. But let's actually explain things. The ribbon text feature for the Ranger is called their bestiary. It essentially says that the Ranger gets to remember every single thing that they have ever learned about every monster they have ever fought. That's not the actual text. They just get advantage on rolls to recall knowledge on them. But they basically do that. They remember everything. If they have ever encountered that monster, then they remember exactly how to defeat that monster. Okay, so what else do the Rangers do? It turns out that the Rangers get a lot of features that don't look like combat features, but give them overwhelming advantages when they're hunting down their prey. For starters, they're the only combat class that regenerates stamina outside of combat. Whenever they're tracking their prey or trying to recall knowledge about whatever they're hunting, they get their stamina back. Okay, what else do they do? So they've got their Hunter's Mark, which essentially gives them advantage and stacking advantage on everything they can do to hunt down their prey. But much more important than that, they have features like Favorite Terrain, which give them extra movement modes, extra skills, extra abilities to do all sorts of things navigating so nobody can run away from you. They have Natural Hunter, which means that any type of checks in the wild to survive are going to be at a significant advantage whenever they succeed. And the Hunter Strike feature is a straight upgrade from the Rogue's Debilitating Strike feature, because there's that many more debilitating conditions that you can inflict on your enemies. I have no idea what kind of things you could get for Ranger talents, but they're going to be amazing. I believe that the Dungeon Coach has mentioned various types of trap, which I'm very excited to see how that gets implemented. Honestly, this is the best version of the Ranger that I have ever seen, bar none. Okay, next up, we have the Rogue. And right after the Ranger, I have to say it is a big disappointment. Now, it's still a step up from D&D 5, where they basically sneak up on you and sneak attack, and they have an extra bonus on skills, and that's all they do. Okay, so The rogue gets their stamina back basically by being a sneaky little jerk. Whenever they attack someone who's debilitated, they get stamina back. Whenever they use their cunning action, which is an extra couple of actions that they get to make every single turn, they get their stamina back. And so they're always going to be going around causing trouble for people. And that really is the role and the identity that the rogues are being handed in this game, is that they are a group of troublemakers. They don't kill people, they make life miserable for people. And that really gives a unique fun feel and flavor for the class if you want to ruin somebody's day. Because even though you're not ruining the Game Master's day, those NPCs will never forgive you if they existed. All right, next up we have what I'm calling the weird ones. The Warlord. It turns out that there is not a Paladin class in DC20, and I think that's because the Warlord fills the role of the Paladin so well that there's no need for a real Paladin. The Warlord is really weird though, because several of their features allow them to basically just walk up and stand in combat and point at this guy and tell him to do that, and give a stern look to that guy and make them somehow heal. And just by being in combat, they make everyone else more effective. Kind of similar to how the Paladin would have an aura that grants a bonus on saves, or grants a bonus on damage that you deal, or lets you run faster, or I think one of them gave some kind of bolstering to undead. The general aura effects that Paladins have been transferred over to the Commander class, but they work so much better because they're extremely interactive. You're giving extra actions to your allies, you're giving advantage, you're making it so that they don't provoke attacks of opportunity. It's very, very fun. However, the flavor feature for the Commander, it seems to be the perfect fit, because as a commander, they apparently have military rank, and everybody in the military recognizes them and defers to them and allows them to gain audiences and gives them advantage on charisma checks. It just seems to fit for someone that has military rank. Let me back up a little bit. I completely skipped over what the rogues do for their ribbon text feature because never mind, we'll skip over it again. Next up, we have the monk. The monk, turns out, they are very, very, very complicated, because while most of the martial classes only have to track one resource, which is stamina, the monks actually have three of them. They have stamina for offense, they have ki for defense, and they have their combat stances, which is essentially the ability to change forms into various different animals that's wild shape. It's similarly complex to wild shape. And it has a similar problem with wild shape because the burden of knowledge is rather large. And I know that I myself always defend druids, that they really ought to have that giant list of animals that can transform into, because it allows creative freedom. But I don't feel the same thing about combat stances. I just personally don't like them. But when I look at the benefits that they grant to a monk, it is undeniable that they are extraordinarily helpful. You want to attack more often? Do that. You want to grapple? Do that. You want to shove people around the battlefield? Do that. There's a stance for each and every one of them, and all you have to do is spend an action point. No, I believe it's actually just a stamina point in order to switch stances. And the monk, guess what? They get stamina back every time they punch somebody in the face. They don't have to do anything special. They just have to hit somebody with one of their attacks, which is really one of the easiest ways to get stamina back. So they're going to be cycling through that stamina pool faster than a lot of other martial characters. And then for flavor, they get to meditate. The meditation ability gives them an extra level of mastery in a skill. And I don't think it has to be a skill that they actually have mastery in. They can just generate skills out of thin air, which for someone who, meditates and contemplates the mysteries of the universe, that makes a lot of sense. And the fact that they're tracking 3 resources instead of 1 also makes sense for that type of contemplative character. Okay, so that's the end of the weird people. What did I mean by simple? Well, there are fighters. Gosh, there are fighters. They're called fighting men. All right. We're going back to D&D First Edition. They're called fighting men. The fighters get their stamina points back every time they use a combat maneuver, whether that maneuver is successful or not, which means that they are even better at getting their stamina back than the monk is. Okay, so what is the ribbon feature that makes the fighter feel like a fighter, feel like a master of combat? It is know thy enemy. If they look at their enemy, they can either spend 10 minutes studying them out of combat, or they can spend a single action point in combat in order to gain knowledge of that enemy, how they compare to themselves. Do they have more health than me? Do they have more might than me? Do they have more agility than me? They get to find out these things for a single action point. Well, it's completely feasible that the fighter would spend all 4 action points finding out all sorts of stuff on the first round of combat. Given the benefits you get from that knowledge, there's no reason not to do that, unless, you want to actually kill them, which you do. As far as the other features that the fighter gets, I have to say that they're very much cut and paste from D&D 5, but they're very much superior versions of those features. Action surge, all right. Stamina converts directly to action points. I like that. It's simple. It's not just simple, it's elegant. Okay, well, what about the healing ability, Second Wind? Well, I think that's actually a bit stronger than it used to be, and I'm worried about it, but it'll probably work out just fine. And then the fact that they have access to all fighting styles, whereas I don't think anybody else actually has access to fighting styles, it just feels so much more satisfying. Okay, on to the last one, the Barbarian, which turns out to be the first one in the book. Barbarians really feel like barbarians. They regenerate their stamina by being hit by things. That's so counterintuitive. Why would you want to get punched in the face? Well, you definitely know why you want to score a critical hit on your opponents, and they get stamina back from that too. This is a very flavorful thing. But really, much more than that, I think that the ribbon feature and one of the level 2 features really exemplify the barbarian more than anything else. Their ribbon feature, I don't remember what it is, but it essentially just lets them break things. Anytime they attack an object, they automatically score a critical hit, and that is not a ribbon feature. Oh, you need to break down that door? Let's go and do this. We'll take care of it real quick. Okay, what if I want to attack that guy's shield? Oh, I guess he's not wielding a shield anymore. I get a critical blow against that inanimate object that he's carrying. What if I attack his armor? I'm not sure how Game Masters would adjudicate that one. Okay, so what's the other feature that goes along with this very well? It's called brutal blows. If you hit that guy, they automatically lose concentration on whatever they're doing. The ultimate fighter against spellcasters is going to be a barbarian, because those spellcasters are never going to concentrate on any spells ever. And I think they also become debilitated. One, which I'm going to need to look up what the conditions tables for this game are. There are about 3 pages of conditions for this game, and that's not terrible compared to something like Pathfinder has so many conditions. I just lost my train of thought. But the Barbarian, it just seems so satisfying. They deal a little bit more damage than everybody else. They have this completely unfair feature where they take half damage from all attacks, and they get that at level 1 because, of course, that's a wonderful feature to give people at level 1. And honestly, I have to say, going through the martial classes for DC20, there is a very, very different feel for each of them. There's none of this extra attack nonsense where, oh, I'm going to attack another time, chop, and that's it. That's all they get. Oh, I'm going to multi-class into fighter so that I can action surge, so that I can take 2 turns in 1 turn. It just feels kind of boring that way, Whereas for DC20, everything is dynamic, everything is fluid, and I'm really going to have to do another episode later because some of these multi-class possibilities have some really interesting stuff to them. All right, that's the episode on marshals. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the episode on magic users. That'll drop up soon in the next couple of days. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you next time.